Episode 5 of Bloody Revenge. I was alone in the backyard, lost in thoughts. I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was my mother. "My daughter," she said gently. "Please talk to me. I am your mother. You are no longer my Usoro I used to know. A lot has changed about you. Is there anything I need to know?" I exhaled in pain. I wanted to open up, and I saw Fabian spying on me. I was smart enough. I would not endanger my mother's life. He could kill us there. I told my mother that I was feeling bad, that my brother would soon leave me and travel back to Lagos. I confessed how I had gotten used to him, and that it would be difficult for me to cope without him. My mother shared in my pain. She knew what it meant to be an only child. I had to cheer up for my mother to be fine. She left for the room, leaving me behind. Fabian joined me and was pleased that I acted smart. He stood on what I told my mother and asked me to make it more obvious that I couldn't cope without him by pretending to be sick so we could travel to Lagos together. It sounded so bad to hear, but giving it a second thought, it would serve as an avenue for me to wipe the shame I had already caused my parents. They could die of heartbreak. I agreed with what he said. I can't bear the shame. I can't even face my parents, my pastor, or even my friend. Truthfully, I really do not need to pretend to be sick. I was sick. I was a walking corpse. Remember, my parents loved me so much. When I brought up the idea of going with Fabian, my father really questioned it. In as much as he adopted him, yet he needed to be sure I would be safe in his hands and be protected. He gave my parents unquestionable assurance that I was going to be fine. I couldn't say anything so long as I would live and my parents would be fine while I faced the torture and probably bring home good news someday. It was time for us to leave. My parents were missing me already. I cried while leaving, unknown to them why I was crying. But before we left, Fabian had already bought them a phone with the money he had been given for his travel. He also got me one and also for himself. This act boosted my faith, and I believed everything would be fine. My parents even trusted him the more. They bid us farewell. That was how I left my parents' house to an unknown destination. On our way, I was trying to reach out to my parents, but it wasn't reachable. He told me not to worry, that it could be a network. I was curious as well, because my parents could have called millions of times to know how the journey was going. But I didn't hear from them. I decided to make the calls, but I still couldn't get them. Finally, we got to Lagos. At the park, a car picked us and we headed to one house. My mouth could not tell how magnificent the house was. I came down from the car, likewise him. The driver addressed him as the boss. I was confused. Could this be what I usually watch in Nigerian movies? The young man carried out luggage and walked towards the door, and we followed suit. When we entered the room, it was something else. It was like heaven on earth. I couldn't question what I was saying, knowing he had told us he was the son of a billionaire. Probably he was looking for a wife and discarded himself. Like, a lot was running through my mind. But on the other hand, his face was mean, but that wasn't my problem. I needed to shower, though I am yet to know what his problem was. He instructed the guy to take me to my room and prepare something for me to eat. I was like, this is heaven on earth. I hadn't been in such a place before. I was even scared to touch some things there, so it would not damage. Finally, I was in my room, very comfortable, I must confess. I was having my bath when I heard someone enter the room. It was the same young man. I didn't know his name yet, but right in the bathroom, I felt he dropped something, and that could be food, I concluded in my mind. After my bath, I came out and I didn't see any food. Best known to him what he came to do. I had a change of clothes. I headed to the door, only for me to realize that the door had been locked. I became curious, but why would he lock the door, knowing I was inside and I was going to come out, at least to look around before asking my questions I needed an answer or explanation for. Everything that was happening, I became more confused. Now I have been locked inside. What do I call that? Angrily, I was hitting the door so hard and calling out to Fabian. He entered with a young man who had a plate of food in his hand. He dropped the food and left. I was mad. I asked Fabian what was the meaning of what had just happened. He smiled at me wickedly. I didn't bother that much. Maybe something was wrong with him, that he needed someone to reset his brain. I needed to call my parents and tell them I had gotten to Lagos. I was looking for my phone. I couldn't see it. He laughed and brought out my phone from his pocket. I was mad at him. What do I call this, Fabian? Give me the phone. I need to call my parents, I said angrily. Your parents, huh? I am sorry you can't, he said. Could it be that I have been kidnapped? I asked myself. He brought out my parents' phone from his pocket. That's my parents' phone, I exclaimed. What could you be doing with the phone? He was the reason I couldn't reach my parents. It broke my heart when I realized he did not just take the phone, but also poison their pot of food. I remember when my parents were bidding us farewell, he excused himself to use the jet. So that was when he took the phone and poisoned their food. I burst out in tears. Fabian, where have I gone wrong to you? What is your mission in my life? You don't have to worry. I only help to send them to their early graves, so they won't worry much about you. You should be grateful I made the work easier for you, he said. Then I remembered when Chizitram told me the dream she had about my parents being drowned in the river. This was just a river. It was an ocean. I have been drowned in pain, agony, and sorrow. He made it clear to me that he hadn't started with me, that by the time he was done with me, I would regret knowing him. What again can he possibly do when he has taken everything from me? He promised to make my life miserable. At this point, I began to think if I had wronged him before, or my parents. I cried and I slapped him. He smiled and pushed me down, threatening to kill me, but not swiftly. He promised to give me a gentle but painful death. Jesus, my heart is broken.